Michael, between you and I, we were going to be doing a lot of different demos on sharpening, but one of the things that I wanted to kind of point out is in this day and age, it's getting a little bit confusing. I use Lightroom and Camera Raw and Photoshop, and I have some third-party products that I use, some third-party products that I develop, PhotoKit Sharpener. So people get kind of confused about where you should sharpen and when. So what I did was I did a flowchart, kind of showing from image capture or from scanner, and the different options. Up here you can go to Camera Raw to do capture sharpening. When I'm using Camera Raw, I use Camera Raw's capture sharpening. When I do Lightroom, I use Lightroom's capture sharpening, which is essentially the same. So it's making the adjustments. And then, you do tone and color corrections. You can do capture sharpening in Photoshop as well. If you have PhotoKit Sharpener or some of the other third-party products that does sharpening, you're in Photoshop or you're in Lightroom as the main application. You've already done the capture sharpening. If you're in Photoshop, I do suggest that you do noise reduction before you do capture sharpening, because there's no benefit to sharpen noise. So if you do, Lightroom and Camera Raw have the benefit of doing basically the sharpening and the noise reduction at the right time. It's within the pipeline. But in Photoshop, literally do the noise reduction, then do the sharpening.
And just to stress this, in both Camera Raw and Lightroom, the order in which you do the adjustments, sharpening versus noise reduction, doesn't matter, because all of the steps are done by the program. When you then go to output, to print or screen or to a file, they're done in the best possible order.
They're in Thomas's order, yes. That's what Thomas
by definition.
Yes.
Okay.
So here you're in digital imaging. In Photoshop, you can also do digital imaging directly from Camera Raw, do a batch save, including output sharpening, which I don't really suggest yet. I'm hoping that the next version or a future version will have better. In Photoshop, you do kind of the soft proofing, the final image sizing, and then the final output sharpening. Here you can do the output sharpening in Camera Raw, or you can do the output sharpening on the fly in Lightroom, or you can export out of Lightroom using the sharpening in the export module. And then the image output basically to print or screen.
Okay, so I think it's worth summarizing something that you and Bruce Fraser were very instrumental in promulgating and
promulgating.
You like that? Yeah.
That's a Canadian type word.
No, it's just a word. The concept of you really need to sharpen at least twice and maybe 3 times. You need to sharpen on the input side, you need to sharpen on the output side, very specifically for the kind of paper, the kind of device, all of those variables, and then the creative sharpening in the middle.
Which it's really sharpening for effect. It implies that it's locally based, although that's not necessarily.
It might be, something like using a brush to sharpen eyelashes on a portrait.
Yeah. And even back in real world Photoshop 5 was the first time that Bruce kind of wrote about the fact that, there's sharpening that you need based upon the source and the content, and then there's sharpening that you need when you do the output. Generally, what he was talking about was the fact that you have to sharpen the image to make it look good, and then if you resize the image for the final output, then you have to do another round of sharpening for the output. He kind of crystallized the whole sharpening workflow when he did PhotoKit Sharpener, and that's kind of was emblematic, or it outlined his thoughts in terms of capture, creative, and output. And so far, we've got the benefit of Bruce's knowledge in the capture sharpening in Camera Raw and Lightroom, and then we've got PhotoKit output sharpener in Lightroom and in Camera Raw. And it'd be nice to have that in Photoshop.
Would be.
So that's basically the sharpening workflow.
Okay, that's very useful.
From capture to print or screen, which is kind of what this whole video tutorial is all about.
It is.